A heartfelt leader is the best type of leader. We know that the best leaders lead with their mind and they're smart and strategic, but they also lead with emotions, empathy, and compassion for one another. So for you as a leader, you need to have compassion for your team. You got to live in the tension. You can't just ignore being a friend and family member to your team because you're the boss. Yo, 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 what's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. The purpose of this show is to help you thrive. And one of the ways that you can begin to thrive is by developing your leadership skills. And that is why every Monday I try to drop a episode strictly on leadership. And it is 2026. I don't know if you've noticed that. And this is my first leadership episode for the 2026 school year. Not school year, just the year. I used to be a teacher. But as we close out, or as we start 2026, we're actually going to close out a study in the book, The Truth About Leadership by Kouzes and Posner. And it's such a good book. If you've not been following the episodes prior to this one, where I've unpacked the 9 of their 10 truths, be sure to do so, because today I am unpacking their final truth. And this will not be the end of the leadership series, by the way. I will still try to drop an episode every Monday strictly about leadership. And I actually, I'm going to have some surprise guests coming on to talk about leadership with me. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited for the people that are going to be joining me on the leadership segment series within Thrive and Dive. So be sure to join us next week. But yeah, the last truth within this book, The Truth About Leadership, is that truth 10 is leadership is an affair of the heart, is how Kouzes and Posner puts it. It's all about the heart. And that can sound a little bit cheesy, kind of sound like a Disney fairy tale. It's all about the heart. But it's so true. And if you're specifically a male leader, you might think, what? This is a soft way of leading. Leadership is not about the heart. It's about discipline. It's about showing who's boss. It's about talking big. It's about correction and things of that nature. And while there's kind of truth to some of those things, it's not the full truth, because according to Kouzes and Posner, and I believe that they are most accurate on this because, one, they're smart dudes, but two, they've surveyed so many people in the writing of this book. They have so much data to back up their claims, and that, a heartfelt leader is the best type of leader. And I, again, just think it's so cool how Scripture, as I am a Christian, complements the truth found in this book so well. Scripture doesn't run contrarily to what is said in this book, so it just affirms just the importance of Scripture and how God sees leadership as so important. And I just want to read a scripture that coincides with this idea that leadership is an affair of the heart. Throughout the Bible's always talking about our hearts and how God is more concerned about your heart than your conduct. And while conduct and your heart are not mutually exclusive, usually what's in your heart leads to your conduct, God knows that you can practice conduct that is hypocrisy. Like, you can say with your mouth that you love God or that you love the poor or this or that, but in your heart, you could have ulterior motives for doing things. So really the conduct isn't what's most important to the Lord. What's most important to the Lord is the purity of your heart. And then Jesus actually summarizes all the commands in Scripture. There's 613 in the Old Testament, many in the New Testament that are reaffirmed. And Jesus, when asked by a group of Pharisees and Sadducees, what is the most important commandment? Jesus says this, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is specifically in Matthew chapter 22. And Jesus sums up the whole, entirety of the law in these two commands. It's all about loving God. So we worship God only. We don't practice idolatry and things of that nature as a demonstration of our love for God. And then we show love to others. That's why we don't steal, we don't lie, we don't murder, do things like that, because we love other people. And if you notice the theme here, love is the heart of these two greatest commandments. And you've also probably noticed that love and heart kind of go hand in hand. You can't love people without your heart, right? And we know that some people are more intellectually minded and are more mind over the heart, demonstration of doing things. And we can see that in people's leadership as well. And it can become maybe a little bit emotionless and not heartfelt. But we know that the best leaders lead with their mind and they're smart and strategic, but they also lead with emotions, empathy, and compassion for one another. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've worn my compassion shirt again. If you're watching, if you're listening, you can't see it. and how compassionate leaders are the best type of leaders. The Greek word for that in the New Testament is splachnog, one of the few Greek words I know when I studied Greek in college. And it just talks about the heartfeltness that Jesus had towards people. It says multiple times that he had compassion for people. So for you as a leader, you need to have compassion for your team. Retro, some people are like, no, we can't be soft on them. We need to be hard on them. And I think I don't think accountability and compassion are at odds with one another. You can be hard and keep people accountable and, punish in the sense of, wrong conduct. But I think you can also do that compassionately in the way that you discipline. I think parents do this with their kids. I'm not a parent yet, but I know my parents, they disciplined us. I got many spankings as a kid. Well, my parents were always so good at communicating their heart of love towards why they did what they did. And it was crystal clear why I was getting punished. And I think all things considered, I turned out pretty good based on their discipline and also their compassion. So they're not at odds with one another. You can hold both at the same time. So you as a leader need to be compassionate. It should be a compliment if you're known for having a big heart, because I imagine that your team respects you. They have your back. They champion you when you're not around because they feel loved by you. And again, we really need to break the stereotype of, got to be a drill sergeant type of leader in order to get things done. In some spaces, that might be what's necessary, like in the military. But at the end of the day, people work for you, and should see them as your family. That's how I would be so bold to say they should be your family. They shouldn't just be your coworkers, your team members, and you don't even know their names and what they do and where their kids go to school. No, you should know things about them because you care about them. And when you fire an employee, it's like, man, it's like cutting off a family member. It's a big deal. I'm not saying you never do it, but I'm just saying you do it. Your bond with them should be close enough to where, hey, it's a hard decision, but I feel like it's what's best for both of us. There shouldn't be any flippant firings. So you need to lead with compassion. Develop your compassion muscle. And I know it's easier said than done, especially if you're wired more logically and your emotional intelligence isn't as high as it could be. But the good news is you can actually develop your emotional intelligence. I've talked about it before. Daniel Goldman, in his book, Emotional Intelligence, talks a lot about how it is adaptable. You can increase it. Unlike IQ, that's pretty standard. You can't really increase your IQ. You can increase your EQ, your emotional intelligence quota. So be sure to do that. And I just want to reiterate again, I've said this before on previous leadership episodes, the difference between personal power and positional power as a leader, and how, man, so many times leaders operate from positional power instead of personal power. And just as a recap, you didn't hear it in the previous episode, positional power is just, using your title, your spot on the org chart, the hierarchy, and using that power to leverage people to do what they're supposed to do, which in a sense, yes, authority is a good thing. It's a biblical thing. Some people should have more authority than others. But if you're strictly relying on your positional power, then there's not going to be a internal motivation within your employees to do the things that you've said to do. They're just going to be driven by external motivational factors, whether it's rewards or punishments, and they're not actually going to be all in, and morale isn't going to be as high as it could be. The other type of power is personal power, which doesn't ignore positional power. You are still the boss, right? You are still the authority figure, but you lead compassionately. You care about the person, and they do things for you more because they just respect you so much instead of, oh man, I don't want to get in trouble with the boss. And the difference is magnificent. People that are doing things out of a respect for their leader and an internal motivation are way more productive than those who are doing things out of fear of their leader, out of external motivation. So for you, if you want efficiency, it's kind of actually ironic that the most efficient way of empowering your people is by having personal power, is demonstrating personal power, not just positional power. And I would argue that the reason a lot of people do positional power over personal power is because it's less work. It's easier just to command people what to do, to bark out orders. Personal power takes intentionality. It means getting into the people's mess and understanding their life and understanding their work and understanding their family. And it takes a lot more effort, but I guarantee you that it's worth it in the long run. So please try to leverage personal power over positional power, because leadership is an affair of the heart. And if you're unwilling to do so, then you're not going to be as effective in your leadership as you could be. And this drives us to our final point within this episode is, and I've said it before in previous episodes, and it's the phrase, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. When I was a teacher, this principle was so important for me. Students aren't going to care what I know until they know that I care specifically about them. Similarly with you as a leader, your team isn't going to care what you know until they know that you care. So what are some things you are doing to develop care, to show your team that you care? And, just giving them Christmas bonuses or different things is cool and all. I don't mind a good Christmas bonus, but it isn't the main way of doing things. I would say just be with your people. Eat lunch with your people. Have coffee with your people. Say hi to your people. Don't just sneak in your back office and then sneak out after the workday. Don't just talk with your team when it's work-related stuff. Talk to them about personal-related stuff. If you're incapable of just shooting the breeze and talking with your employees and your team about just normal things, then this is destructive to your leadership. If all you can talk about is work with them because that's all you know and that's all you care about, then your team isn't going to be as pumped about that. I know I had a leader that I worked for that could not talk about personal things. It's just all about work. And I know for me, when I'm on my lunch break or if we're having a team bonding opportunity, I want to talk about things other than work because work can be stressful sometimes. So there's one way you can care for your team. Another way is just, and it goes hand in hand with this, is just hang out with them. If you're incapable of just hanging out with your team, there might be an insecurity problem. There might be a pride problem, thinking, I can't hang out with them. I'm above them, right? And I know there's a tension between being someone's friend and also being someone's boss. I get that. There is that tension that's there, but you got to live in the tension. You can't just ignore being a friend and family member to your team because you're the boss. So please just try your best with that. Because again, leadership is an affair of the heart. If your people see that you care about them and that you care for the work that we're doing for the progression of whatever your organization is standing for, I think you're going to have a team that's way more productive. And I think you're going to be more productive as a leader. So develop a big heart today as we go into the 2026 year. Be working on your compassion, be working on your care for your team, and be a leader that leads not only from the mind, but from the heart. Because leadership is an affair of the heart. And this was the final lesson in the book, The Truth About Leadership. Our leadership episodes are not stopping. Be sure to come by next Monday as we drop another episode at 7 p.m. And like I said, I'm going to have some friends joining me here soon. So I'm looking forward to you hearing their expertise as we discuss more about leadership. But until then, this is Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a great rest of your day.